Organissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today. Organissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show. Interesting topic, great topic. We've alluded to it every now and then, but today I have an expert in this whole world of meditation. So that's the key word, meditation. So we're going to pretty much talk about what the merits of it, how it works, the benefits, the types, and he has a special method as well. So we're going to talk about all that. And I do believe meditation is whatever form you do, it has some value to our life and well-being. We are in the health channel, of course, and the health radio. So again, that's all about health being and well-being and just being you and the best you can be. So without any further ado, I have with me my guest author. He is a poet. A lot of things. He's got some seriously amazing books that we're going to talk about as well. Blair Abee. Blair, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this interview.
Yeah, say likewise. It is intriguing because meditation can mean a lot to many. There's different views about it. There's the non, religious aspect of it. There's the religious aspect of it, and depending where you sit in that spectrum, there's different ways of looking at it. Some can be for, some can be not for, or maybe particular forms of it. But we'll hopefully cover all that for our people, and and they get to make their own decision on how they would approach it. But before we go anywhere, I read about your story, and it is an interesting one, and it could happen to a lot of people. Actually, I've been to a degree in that same space. I didn't go extreme in the protocols, but I had some similarities, so I could relate to it. And probably people watching right now and listening, they can say, "Oh, damn, maybe this is me. Maybe there's something I could do about this." But so I'm being a little bit suspenseful. But so Blair, let's talk about Blair and the story behind where you are today and what got you into meditation.
Okay. Well, meditation for me starts all the way back to, almost 46 years ago, when I moved from small town North Carolina to San Francisco. Culture shock, as you can imagine, but one that I welcomed. Within a year, I had begun taking a yoga class at an ashram in San Francisco, a 4-story Victorian house, and a ashram with a guy named Swami Satchidananda, who was the guru who introduced Woodstock. He was quite an interesting guy, and I did the yoga classes and the meditation that goes along with the yoga classes to the point where I could do it at home, and have been doing that for more than 45 years. About it's almost 7 years ago now, my whole life took a turn from where I was headed. I had been a business consultant for a nationwide organization for about 20 years, took a big promotion to go to San Diego, North Carolina at the time, and found myself in employee hell. I took a big promotion. I was an assistant state director, but my boss was a psychopath. It's the best word that I can use for somebody who was abusing employees, absconding with money, running the program into the ground, but had a great smoke and mirrors way about her, so that the people who were supposed to be overseeing her and supervising her were not. Within a year, I just could not deal with it anymore. And so I decided to go to the folks up above us, the authorities, and let them know what was going on. Felt like the right thing to do. I knew it was something that was a little bit dangerous as far as my job was concerned, but I just couldn't deal with it anymore. An investigation was done. She was fired, but they fired me too. They said I was a troublemaker. What that really meant was, and apparently this happens to whistleblowers all the time, what it really meant was that I had exposed their incompetence in supervising the program and overseeing the program, and it brought discredit on them. And as a result, then I was a troublemaker. Well, after 25 years of doing this in a career trajectory that was headed upwards, that was devastating. I mean, my whole career, my life, my income, all came to a screeching halt. Fortunately, I had some resources, so I didn't have to go back to work right away. And I began for therapy just journaling and taking a deep dive into my meditation practice. And after about 150,000 words of journaling, I realized that I had material that could be developed into books and that could be shared with others. The other interesting thing that happened at that time, Hurricane, was that I had an experience what I call soul contact. Soul contact. All of us have souls. All of us have a higher self, if you will, in my opinion, my experience. Most people kind of think of that as being the case, but many people have never had direct contact with that part of themselves. They think that's just maybe an angel looking over them or something, a protector. But it really is a higher part of yourself, a higher consciousness part of yourself. And I began to get a sense of this soul contact as a result of writing. I would find myself writing at times and words just flowing through my fingers onto the keyboard and onto the screen that really weren't my own words and weren't my own realizations or understandings. They were much deeper understandings, much more spiritual understandings than I had ever had before. And it was fabulous. I mean, it was a lovely experience. It was a little bit disconcerting at first, as you can imagine. On the one hand, on the other hand, I welcomed it, and I realized as a result of that experience that all of us have souls, that all of us have souls who want to be involved in our lives and are, at least to a degree, even if we're not aware of that, even if we've not acknowledged that or let that in. But if what we do is through some means, and meditation, to my way of thinking, is the most direct path in there. If we begin to have that experience of soul contact, our soul responds immediately. It wants to be involved in our lives. It wants to be involved directly in our lives to the point where we can have conversations with it, whether it's on the tippy typing on the computer, and it's called, you hear the term still small voice. It's that still small voice that comes in the quiet of meditation if you allow it to and if you invite it in. So that was my experience of having soul contact, and that's one of the things that I talk about a lot in my books and my writings, my blog posts, and so forth, as an experience that we all can have, and that in fact I think it's one of the most monumental experiences that any human can have in a human lifetime. Now, I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we come here, we learn uh, lessons, we have experiences, we grow, and then we leave this place and go back. And a lot of times we don't have that direct contact with spirit or with higher consciousness. And we come back again, and maybe we're determined next time we will. But when you get here, you get hypnotized into three-dimensional reality. You know what I mean? It's like your parents, your spiritual leaders, your teachers, everybody has the same message for you. Work hard, learn as much as you can. You can be all you want to be. In some cases, they'll say that. But it's you can be all you can be as a human being, which is to be as successful as possible in this lifetime, to try and protect yourself, to try and generate funds, try to generate for your family. And it's all based on, though, a dog-eat-dog world, because frankly, this is a tough world.
Oh, yes, yes.
That we're born into. It's not an easy place to be. And you have to, it's said, that the idea is that you have to scratch and claw your way to success, or not, depending on, what your experience in life is. Well, there's also a fifth dimensional overlay to three-dimensional reality, which is spirit that informs and gives life to everything that we experience, including ourselves. It's what leaves the body when we die is our spirit. Our five-dimensional self, or our higher consciousness, leaves our body, goes on to whatever that next adventure is. And if you come back, you're coming back into this three-dimensional biomechanical vehicle that we have, which, as you know, is quirky and has to be cared for substantially throughout your life, especially when you get to be my age, which is 73. It's certainly not an easy thing. What can make it much easier, though, is if you begin to have that experience of your fifth dimensional self in addition to your three-dimensional self. Your life can get much better as a result. And that's one of the things that we can talk about.
That there's a lot there to talk about, because I have to say, Blair, people are watching and listening. It is a worldwide show, and therefore there's probably, I don't know how many religions. I think I read there's over 400 religions in this world, and
yes.
There's some primary ones, and there's some secondary and tertiary, right. And everybody can claim a religion these days too, so which is fine.
Yes.
That's their prerogative. But the idea is that everybody has a different view about the spirit world and the soul and stuff, and I want to talk about that in a minute.
Right.
But so the first things first, I want to address that your story at work, and the reason I want to do that because many people could be going through it today, or have experienced it, and to a degree or another, we all have been there. I can relate to some of it myself. I never such a horrible experience personally, but I've had my colleagues who had horrible ones. Although I did have some of that initially back in the days, right. And it is one thing I want to tell people is this: there is nothing in this world, no money, no job, that is worth you being subjected to any type of abuse from any employer or any boss. I personally hate the word boss. I don't like people when they say boss. I am a leader, but not a boss. I understand. There's no such thing as a boss. We work together. We all have functions. We all have roles. That's all there is. And, you don't boss people around. You work with people, and you work for them rather than they work for you, if anything, if you are at a higher level. But you're right. There are people that have that, they're so mean to people, and because that's how they just whip, everybody, and you got to do this or else, and they threaten people, and you have no comfort in working. And the reason they do that, we can talk psychologically speaking. There's probably something, behind that drive, from their childhood. Right. Or whatever.
They're bent and twisted in some fashion.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, you feel bad for them, but that's another discussion. We can talk about it that way. But we've had actually shows about, some of that. But the concept that I want to bring to the audience is that if you let it happen, it will get you to a point, and that point can be bad for you, for your health.
Yes.
And it could destroy you. You can move, yes, and that's the other thing where you just said something key, that this world is a three-dimensional. We all have these, formatted, systems that you have to come in. You got to do a career path, boom, 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 work, and so it's almost like a template, level for
Yes,
all of us.
that's right.
And know that you have options, folks. You do not have to be stuck in any place. If someone disrespects you, I don't care who they are. They're not supposed to, and you shouldn't accept it. On the other side, what you shared with us is that you were vocal about it. You voiced it. You went and spoke about it because it was the right thing to do. But unfortunately, you got pretty much retaliated upon, and that is supposedly not happening. I mean, in most of the states, retaliation it is not permissible. I mean, we read about it in those HR trainings, and we train about them to make sure that if someone comes up, they have the freedom to speak. They can be anonymous, or they can be physically announced, but the idea is that we are not supposed to, as employers or leaders, to take action if someone is bringing something to the surface. But unfortunately, in your case, that still was not enough, and you're right, sometimes it is a way to camouflage your weakness, because everybody wants to admit that they make a mistake, and and that's the reality of things, and it takes
Right.
a lot of level of consciousness, if you want to call it, to get there. But people don't do that because everybody's afraid about their position. Everybody is clinging to
Mhm.
their seat. Like, I'm the
Yeah,
boss. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
the lead. It's my place. It's not like that. And that's why today there's a lot of folks that are actually migrating from maybe working for corporates and getting more entrepreneurial and independent and
yes,
so on and so forth, choosing to work independently as consultants or even as brokers and so on and so forth. So there is that, but the idea is, your experience, it is traumatizing, and many people wake up, and we hear this all the time. Oh my God, it's Monday. Thank God it's Friday. Oh my God, it's Monday.
yes,
The reason we have that is because there's probably someone there, you know, in that environment you're in, that actually does not make you welcome on Monday. You don't feel good on Monday because you're going and you're going to get stressed. Not so much the work, because you probably love the work, but if you didn't, then that's another reason why you should
yeah.
change.
It's
But
the people.
but
Yeah,
it's really the people, right? And there's a big thing that we hear all the time. People leave, they don't leave jobs, they leave, managers, because these
yes,
are the ones that your supervisor is the person that's going to make it. Sometimes it's your peers too, but your peers you can deal with. Your managers have the authority over you, and sometimes they can manipulate it. And some of these folks, they have, to your point, a good imagery. They get a good facade to the upper level, so they manage well up. And then it's like they
yes,
have two faces. Here is an angel face type, and here is a devil's face type. And they
right.
turn and it's like, it's
Yes,
crazy, right? Like, how you
yep.
doing, sweetie? And then they turn here like, wow, they growl. So, and I'm just giving a visual effect there, but the guys, it is a tough place to be. And again, this is just a quick note because it did drive you towards the right path, at least for you. You found yourself in this next stage of your life. But some people can get lost differently, and and it not everybody can bounces back well. That's the other thing, right?
Right.
Not
Yeah,
you said you had some resources. Not everybody has the resources.
yeah,
You fall into that, you have the right to speak up, and yeah, you can make the noise. But again, if you live in this world and you're in corporate, there's laws that I guess manage that kind of world, and many states are at will. They don't have to tell you the reason. I mean, in your case, they did tell you you're a troublemaker. They don't even. And by the way, that's not a protected category. So you're a troublemaker.
that's right.
I determined that. I think you're in trouble. You're a trouble one. I can tell you that, and there's nothing you can do. You can't sue me. You can't go after me legally. So these are the things. If it's not discrimination, harassment, and some of these religious or other type of categories, you're not going to be able to fight the battle there, and then you
Yes,
lose. So that's just how it is. Now, again, I'm saying I'm in a leadership role, but I believe in doing it right and believe in
sure.
treating everybody equally the way I want to be treated. And and again, like I said, I've been on both sides of the. And by the way, it doesn't matter what level you are. There's always someone over you. There's some, and they're in ranking. So you
Hmm.
have that route, both ways. There's very few people that even that president, CEOs of the companies have to report to a board, and the board can
Yes,
terminate their employment. And the government can revoke your status as well. So you always have someone over you. So it's a very difficult place to be. But if you do the right thing and if you're good, you should be fine. And again, if you are at the level where you have, subordinates, treat them right, please. If you are a subordinate, and you're not feeling right, make a decision. Nothing is worth your headache, your health, your mind, your spirit, none of that. So I'm going to shut down about that.
Well, if you find yourself in that position, as I did, what you end up having to do is basically reinvent yourself, either finding something else to do or doing what you know how to do in a different place. But it requires that you kind of dig deep and find something else to do. In my case, I dug deep, and it was almost as if, as I look back on it, my soul wanted me to go off in a different direction. That it was time to stop doing what I was doing and was time to start doing something else. I had no idea that I would end up being an author. I had no idea that I would be sitting here talking to you because I've never done either authoring or podcasting, before. But in a way, I almost look back on it as with a little bit of a thank you to those people that were involved that I was really unhappy with, for kind of pushing me in a different direction. And like I said, I think it was my higher consciousness that really wanted me to go and do what I'm doing now. So that was, I listened to that, and I think that's part of a better way to react to a situation like that is to take a pause, to realize that maybe this is the best thing that could have happened, even though it doesn't seem like it. And what are the opportunities for something better?
Well, Blair, thank you, and that is a big point, because first of all, I love what you said. In a way, you were thankful for to a degree, because that was what was the drive behind, where you are today. And
Yes.
and believe it or not, I don't believe in coincidence. Everything's happening for a reason. And whether sometimes you think it or not, it's happening, and it's happening in a good way. There's always a good outcome eventually. We just don't know it until it happens. And that could be days, could be months, could be weeks, could be whatever. But
Yes.
only when you reflect back on time and you'd be like, oh wow, now I see the connection. Why, if I had not done this, I wouldn't have been there, or I wouldn't have been in this position. and that's really what happens. We don't know it at the time. And I've done this exercise before. And again, if anybody who's watching right now, just do it. Take a minute and reflect back on your timeline. And you're going to start seeing all the events that got you to today's point, and you're going to start seeing connections. Like if it was
maybe you never saw before,
you wouldn't have done it because you're not doing the exercise. But when you start doing this, it is amazing what you see. Like literally, you can go back to. It's funny. I was driving yesterday, and I passed this gym, and that's where I met my friend, who actually, maybe if he's watching today, it's been almost 30 years since we met, and he is the one who got me into the healthcare, field and stuff. And I met him in that location. And it's funny, like had I not joined that gym, I would not have met that dude. And that dude wouldn't have gotten me into the healthcare. And then I wouldn't have been done. And I wouldn't be doing today what I'm doing if I didn't get into this, because I was in the retail, and I was going even in airlines. So it's amazing how it all connects, but we don't know that. So I think enough of talking about this part of it, because but it is a good foundation to a lot of things, because the discussion that's following now, it's funny you talked about this body. So I have a tendency to refer to this body as an avatar, and really it is
it's your piece.
Yeah, it's
your board. It's your board piece on the game of life.
Exactly. So just to. We do probably have two different belief systems. I mean, I'm a Muslim, and so we have a different approach to life, and we believe in reincarnation. We believe in evolution and other worlds, right? So you move in, you transit into a different world, but we believe that the soul actually never dies; it just keeps moving. There's a there is current, there is when we are in, as you say, like in like the Christianity, we talk about purgatory. We don't call it purgatory, we call it like barzakh, means that the life of the grave. Then there is the resurrection, and so that's when we stand, and that's whole day of judgment, blah blah blah. And then we believe in the hereafter, and then there's obviously two dwelling worlds, and so that's kind of like how we believe. But it is interesting, because I love these discussions, because there's different angles, but yet we have similar bases. And it's all about the soul. The soul is who you are. In the Greek mythology, they used to refer to it as the ghost in the machine or behind the machine. And I think that's, or similar expression. There is someone running this avatar. And through this avatar, our spirit or our soul is actually interacting with the world. So we come in, it's like, I give this reference to my kid because he's in a gaming world and he plays these games, and there's all these nice little characters that are playing, and everybody's got a character. They pick you pick your own avatar, and you basically work, and you can die in a game and respawn and blah blah blah, and there's a new world, and you get into a level. So not that this world is a game, but the idea is that it is a big, to your point, it's not 3D, it's not 4D, it's beyond that, and we only see what we want. It's not linear. And there's more to it. And the spiritual part of it, is something that many people are dormant with because they're not really in touch with their own self in terms of, and I'm not talking physical, folks, I'm talking about spiritual here. The idea is that, your higher person, your higher being is that spirit, some people refer to it as spirit, soul, and there's probably different ways of referring to it. But the idea is we are that. And sometimes and of course, we believe also there's other forces, good and bad. And so, you meant angels, demons, and there's all these things that are floating. There's other creations, that we believe that exist. And I think in most of religions, they do have a similar, view about them. We call them differently. Maybe we view them differently, but they all have, some is good, some is bad, and that's just how it is. And but you're right, the conscious, and then we have the higher, authority or the creator, and that's another level of thinking. And so the concept of feeling things and having, you're right, it happens. I mean, as a matter of fact, I believe personally that everyone, who gets an idea, it's given to them somehow by their either their personal soul, like the actual deep soul, or by an influencer, and from the other spirit world, or from the other dimension, if you want to call it that way, right? Now,
understand.
And that's really because there is the material world and there's the spiritual world, and they all are existing at the same time. The problem is
right, exactly. They're existing at the same time, but if you don't have a sense of that other world,
yes,
and nobody's ever told you about it, nobody ever taught you, you never had any experiences of it, it's as if it doesn't exist. But once you begin to get a sense of it, a real honest, experience of that being the case, all of a sudden your whole awareness opens up to something that you didn't even imagine necessarily as being available to you, but which, as being available to you, can cooperate with your human mind, with the avatar, in order to have a better human experience.
Well, it's connecting, right? I mean, it's like you have to anchor yourself and really ground yourself. And that's the thing, it's amazing. Like, we determine everything, or at least interpret everything as material, but there's more to this world than the material. As a matter of fact, even from physics, if you just know physics well enough, this world is not material enough. It's actually more, space and other type of dimensional stuff than it is in the physical world or material world. And time is relative too. So that's the other part we don't understand. And you're right. If you start, just meditation is perfect. And that's the real topic of today. And whatever form of it, prayer,
whatever form.
Yeah, prayer is
silent prayer, not exactly. God, give me something, because God's not Santa Claus, but letting God talk to you as opposed to you begging God for something.
Well, it depends on the angle. I mean, it depends on the religion. There is the prayer. And by the way, you're right. Prayer doesn't have to be loud. I mean, it's really talking to your higher to your creator, and you can do it in many ways. It doesn't have to be vocal. It could be internal. But the idea, to your point, is the connection. See, it's the key word is the connecting. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you, this is true. Most people may. Again, I never talked about, I don't talk religion in general, but this is touching on that and the subject.
It's spirituality,
It's spiritual. Exactly.
Because it doesn't matter what religion.
I mean, I think the foundation is all the same. It's just how we interpret is based on our own beliefs and what we choose, right? But,
that's right.
In the Islamic tradition, we call prayer salah, right? I mean, if you've heard that word before.
Yes.
And Sala is driven from root word Sela, or connection.
Connection.
So
There
as a
you go.
matter, so really Salah is the way to connect. And in Islamic tradition, we pray 5 times. That's minimum requirement for the day.
Right.
But every one of those is really you basically connect back, and you anchor
Yes.
yourself. And if you look at
Yes.
somebody's praying in Islamic tradition, we actually on the ground, which basically we're really ground. And there have been studies about the 7 points that we touch the ground, and it's almost like energy connected. Now, this is like, science meets religion. It's a little, different discussion that, that can be twisted, from depending on what your level of understanding of religion. But the idea is there is that level. And when you actually are connected, you do feel that. And to your
You
point,
do.
whether you're just enclosed in a room, as a matter of fact, traditionally, in all religions like in history, and all, let's say, the prophets that we all kind of believe in, prophets, well, not all, but most of us do, I would say, or saints, whatever. I mean, the description
Yes.
we would call them. These folks had one thing that was very common, is that they meditated a lot. They went to caves, they went to, mountains, they went into the wild, they stayed alone, exclusion, in isolation for months, days, and so on and so forth. And they did
Yep.
that. Actually, I had a friend of mine. He's, I think, I forgot what his religious, denomination was, but he took days, of the year where he did only meditation. Days.
Yes.
I mean, I think he was Chinese, but I'm not sure what part of the religion he was specifically. But they would to take these sabbaticals, once a year, and they just really just do deep meditation. And it gets them in touch with their own, world, and whatever, how you want to describe it. And it's a different thing. Same thing, I'm going to give you another example. Ramadan is our holy month, for our, religion. Just finished about 10 days ago, I think, just about 10 days. Yeah. And in that whole month, we do a lot of what we would call, deep night prayers. And it's
Yes.
really that you don't really interact with people, for the most part. You have an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to yourself. And what you do is just, you're really anchored,
Right.
the world doesn't exist at that moment. You're just doing your thing, and you're connecting. And in that moment, the connection is so deep, it's not even funny. And anyone who tries that, and by the way, Muslim or not Muslim, if you do that in a night by yourself and get up deep in the night and do your own, whatever form of worship or spiritual meditation, you will feel different, period.
Right.
Now. It is a different understanding, and only people who have attempted to do it will realize what it does and how it feels, and what
Yes.
it's a changeable moment for you when
Right.
the energy level is also different. Your demeanor, you're more able to absorb things. You're different.
Well, all of the master teachers, Muhammad, Jesus, Lao Tzu, Buddha, all of them said the same thing, which is the kingdom of heaven is inside of you. If you take some time to get in touch with that. And that's exactly what you're talking about, is getting in touch with that, or making that connection. Now, you can do it, as you said, in a lot of different ways. Meditation, the beauty of meditation or silent prayer is I think, one of the most direct routes there, because it gets the three-dimensional mind that's chatter all the time. What's going to happen tomorrow? What happened yesterday? And put you into the moment where you have an experiential experience that's always there. It's just that we don't quieten down enough. We don't do prayer like Ramadan. We don't do the 5. I mean, I do 5 times a day, but it's not the same as what you do. It's just I take 5 or sometimes 10 times a day to just say to myself, peace, be still, and to have a momentary experience of my higher self, or my higher consciousness, or my connection to the universe, or my connection to God, my connection to my soul. So, I mean, it's interesting because I think our master teachers were really trying to say, I've had this experience of awareness, of consciousness. I've done the work internally. I've had direct experience with God, the all, whatever you want to call it. And they were pointing us in that same direction, saying, and you can have that too. I'm not somebody to put up on a pedestal. I'm not somebody to say only this person, was the only one. No, I'm saying to you, here's what I know, and here's the same thing that I want you to have your own experience of. And that's really what they were trying to teach us, not religious dogma, but religious experience or spiritual experience.
Well, there is a school of thought that says that all the prophets, teachers, the masters, right? They all are linked, in history, and their progression, and they have similar messaging, across all these nations, and the message is pretty much the same. There is a higher authority, and there is a different world, and we need to connect, in that world, and need to be aware of it, and
right.
different ways of approaching it. We're not debating the merits of which one is correct or not. That's
whatever gets you there.
Exactly.
Whatever gets you there.
that could be a derailment, easily with people watching or listening. And again, out of respect to everybody, we respect all religious, beliefs and
yes.
And spiritual beliefs. I mean, that's to each his own, as they say, and
right.
Whatever works for you. Ultimately, that's your choice. And I always say people have the right to make their own decisions. I think we were given that choice.
Sure.
And it's an important piece to understand. But meditation itself, as an extract in all beliefs,
yes.
It's that practice that has been lost a lot of ways, and not everybody does it. Whether it's the prayer, even in the prayer world, I mean, not everybody prays right. correctly. Not everybody is deeply understanding it. That's the other issue. So it's amazing how it works, right? And to just say the least, people have to be open-minded about what it means to them and what it can do for them. In your world, it changed your world. I mean, right. Literally. I mean, you went from this person that was probably very sour at the time when that happened to being this new person who is creative, change your life, put all these books out, and I love what you said, that you were all of a sudden getting these words. You get in this. It's like you open your dish, your satellite, and you get right. more. You get a lot more reception, and that's really what right. it is. It's like being like think about those military satellites. They shut them down like an umbrella, and they open it up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get all that communication frequencies coming through.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it. So that's the communication. That's like you have to open.
Right.
And we don't know how it happens. I think we might have ideas how it happens. And again, it depends on which way you stand in religion. Some people can say, well, this is angelic, this is demonic, whatever, or spiritual. Right. I mean, there's people different ways of looking at it. But you do hear these things. You get stuff. Like I said, literally, I mean, you have innovators every day. You have people that came up with stuff that is changed the world. Right. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
They sleep, they wake up, they have an idea that revolutionizes the world, right? How did that happen? Just thinking about that, I mean, in its own, you're like, whoa, take a moment. Let's pause about for that. Yeah. It's deep stuff. Like when you get it, like you sit in and all of a sudden you have something in your mind, like, damn, I want to do this. And you almost like have a full visual of what it looks like and what it's going to be and so on. So where's that coming from? You see, many people are doing it. They're getting stuff, but they're not filtering enough to see. It's like have a nice microscopic lens and you can see it clear. You see a little bit fluff and sometimes blurry, but the deeper you get, the more the picture is clear. And you got all these influx of information that is coming to you. Like, this is not me. This is beyond me. This is something, it's happening, but I'll take it. But it's good, but it's information that is flowing through you. But if you are not open, you're not going to get it. And
right. You're not on that same radio frequency where the information exists and where you have access to it. Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. So Blair, I know you have an improved meditation system. So let's talk about your system specifically, because I know you started with yoga, and I know yoga has a big deal with meditation. Meditation is part of yoga. and Reiki and all these all traditional Asian, or Eastern, I would say, cultural, forms of spirituality. So yoga was your start years back,
right.
but then you went deeper into it, and then all of a sudden now you're into this whole new level of meditation, but you've improved it to a degree. What is different about your meditation prospect?
Okay. Traditional meditation and Eastern meditation, like yoga or Zen, Zen or any of those types of practices, are about training the mind to be quiet. Well, that's hard because the mind doesn't want to be quiet. It wants to be in charge. It wants to do the chatter, 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 chatter. And it's almost like a deafening noise that goes on in your head all of the time, until you're able to perhaps tame it like a wild horse, hard to do. Or in the case of my meditation system called higher consciousness meditation, it's intended to take you directly to that experience of higher consciousness, bypass the mind training, and give you a direct experience of spirit, or a direct experience of God, or a direct experience of your higher consciousness. And it's I like to call it meditation 2.0 because it takes you directly there, as opposed to having to go through all of this mind training, which again can take a long time and can be difficult to do because the mind really isn't that interested in putting itself aside and let spirit flow in. Mm-hmm. So that's the real difference. Is the outcome is that you begin to have a direct experience of your higher consciousness. You begin to have a direct experience of your mind just naturally quieting down because you're much more interested in what else is going on, which is that direct experience of spirit or direct experience of higher consciousness.
Thank you, Blair. So one piece is clear. The meditation gets you deeper into the spiritual world and the acceptance of higher frequencies, really get in touch with your higher being.
Correct.
However, what are some of the potential physical benefits of it, in terms of just the physical body? I mean, because again, there's always those two things that sometimes we tend to listen to talk about one versus the other, but they both exist, in parallel. So,
well, my first book, which is called The Amazing Benefits of Meditation, is a deep dive into the scientific research around meditation and the benefits that come with meditation. More than 3,500 human conditions, according to the studies that have been done, positively respond to meditation. They positively, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, meditation has been shown scientifically to improve your life in all of those areas. And the reason that I think that's the case is that you are able to allow in spirit, which knows what you want and need, knows what's important for your evolution and for your growth. And so spirit then is available, which is healing. I mean, fifth dimensional reality, God, spirit, is a healing concept, or it's a healing experience. And if you allow that to come in, your life can get better in all sorts of ways. Another way to say that is that, and I think we all, in a way, create our own reality. And I think the way that we create our own reality is by the vibratory rate at which we are operating, which at a higher vibrational level brings in higher quality experiences, people, circumstances. Lower rates of vibration have a tendency to attract to you lower vibrational experiences. So if you're raising your vibration, you're more likely to attract positive things. If you're down in the lower areas of vibrational frequency, fear, hate, um, uh, and all of those kinds of experience, depression, stress, that tends to cut you off from higher experiences. And the experiences that come to you are in the same frequency level as what you're putting out there. So you put it out there, it comes back. You put it out there, it comes back. As you become more spiritual, as you rise up in consciousness, you have a higher frequency of vibrational level, and that's what attracts to you greater good. And your life gets better. And cause and effect.
I love it. It's important. What you said is that it's not only benefiting you physically, but also mentally. I mean, so because that's the other thing. Like, we talked the spirit part, but really, you said it: depression, all those, anxiety, all these things are gone. Right. And many people, when you meditate and you really take that Zen moment and you just USA and you take your deep dive, you tend to calm down. None of that stuff is phasing you. You don't get phased by things, right? You're like, you have a different approach to things. And that in itself, it's you can call it miraculous, but it's very powerful, outcomes. Because I think if everybody could control, we don't control people, we don't control the environment, but we control our influx, and connection with the world.
And our responses.
Exactly.
And you're much more able to respond well if you're in a calm state of mind than if you're in an agitated state of mind.
Listen, I can tell you, it's funny because I've been in martial arts and all my life since I was 9. And one thing that we've always done is meditation part of it. Like, the deep dive, what we call, like, we just close your eyes and take a few minutes to just kind of, get a sense of everything. And actually, believe it or not, there's a level of training where you do it like blindfolded, where you can just kind of, feel everything around you as opposed to see the world around you.
That's amazing.
And believe it or not, I can tell you this, honest to God, I did in one of my tests, there was a part of it where I had to be blindfolded. And the technique I pulled when looked at it on video was much better when I did it, blindfolded than actually did it without it. Don't ask me how, because and I still know why personally how it happened, because you're not seeing, so you're feeling everything and you're in touch with everything. So when you move, you're not taking chances, you're not expecting, you just know that you need to be moved from that situation. And it flew. So I mean, the flow of that whole test part was like, wow. Did I do that? I was like, literally, I was amazed. It was funny because I looked, I was like, wow, but it just felt differently. And it's hard to describe it. People can probably laugh right now and listen to me, but if you have not tried that, try it. And I do it even now. I mean, I have a bag and I close my eyes and I just work with the bag, and and actually it's one that the bags is moving, so I just push it in the air and try to feel it. And, for the most part, I don't get hit by it. I move around it. but it's just, you get that sense. You have to develop that sense. And but it's part of it. It's really an important thing. And the reason I mentioned martial arts is that one of the teachings of martial arts, which is, again, very similar, it's, very ancient, arts and, Eastern based. The idea is that you don't fight as much as people think in martial arts. You can fight, but the learning is really not to fight, is to actually avoid fighting if you can. It's really just like, all these arts, they teach you to be ready, but how to control it. Control is the biggest part about it. You have to be in control all the time. You can't be like, to your point, making hasty decisions, like I'm angry, you don't even know what you're doing. Yeah, adrenaline's rushing, you're just moving.
Yes.
When you're in control, it's like, think about it. I don't know if you've seen The Flies, right? They can see someone coming through them in a slow-mo. They have, literally, that's why you can't really grab, hit a fly unless you have a swatter, because that kind of plays, a trick on them, the eyes. But the idea is like you're literally slow motion coming into a fly. And when you are at that level, you can literally see moving slow. You are like, oh, cool, I can see this happening. But when you're agitated, you don't see it happening.
No,
you're like,
that's right.
And watch professors, higher, ranking, martial artists. You can come as fast as you want. They just kind of move slow, and they just kind of just move you around. You're like, what the hell just happened here? Like, I'm like, yeah, I got this. That's the part. It's a higher level of training, and you don't get to that point by not practicing it. It's practice, and it's all the above. And meditation is a huge part of that. And being like really balanced, central.
And being that's right in a state. I mean, it's a state of mind, or it's a state of consciousness, I think, that you get into, where your training then just starts to, like you said, flow in a way that it's not going through your brain. It's just your body is naturally responding the way it needs to without you having to think about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you would see it happening before it's happening. As a matter of fact, the higher you are in the arts, you can if you stand in front of someone, you start seeing the different potential aspects of any attack. If they're going to move on you, there are a couple of them, how they're going to do and what you're going to do if they do this. And it's happening at a fast rate in your mind. It's like almost you visualize the whole fight before it ended. You've seen this in movies, folks. You probably think it's far-fetched. It's not far-fetched. It is as real as it gets. It's you have to get there to know what it feels like, but it is an amazing feeling when you are able to actually. I'm not at that level yet. I mean, I'm close enough. I can get a certain sense of it, but it takes practice, and the more you practice, you can see it. But again, it's that I mean, again, I'm telling you, some tests we had were in the dark. I mean, I remember a test where the professor will flick the light on, and there's multiple people. You don't know who's going to come at you, and then you basically just see them. And you get like a second just to observe what's going on. Then it shuts down, and then you have people coming at you. And based on what you saw, you have to react and move around. And again, these are the things, the type of exercise that you do. But if you're not really fully aware, it's not happening. Meditation gives you the awareness, and that's the biggest part of it. Now, there is mindfulness meditation and sit-down meditation.
Right.
What's the difference or the benefit of one versus the other?
Yes. So my higher consciousness meditation practice is a sit-down meditation, and it can be done in as little as 5 minutes, although you can extend it out to 10 or 15 minutes if you wish. Just depends on how much time you have and what your experience of that is, so that you don't go beyond where you go back into agitation. As long as it's nice and comfortable, you just continue to do it. Excuse me. Mindfulness meditation, on the other hand, is more like quick pauses to get into the moment, where, as you were talking about with the martial arts, where you're just there and you're just aware in a larger way of what's going on. Now, one way to do mindfulness meditation is to say a phrase to yourself like "Peace, be still," or like higher consciousness is flowing at this time, or I have maybe 30 different phrases that you can use for different situations in my mindfulness book. And so those are things that you can do during the day after you do the morning meditation, perhaps the evening meditation. Then you also have these mindfulness practices that will allow you to just kind of, for a moment, just kind of click in and calm yourself down and be in that space and kind of get into that state of consciousness, even for just a moment. So that's the difference between the two. I use both of them because both of them are helpful in different ways. But the combination of the two is really powerful.
Is there a specific environment that you require for either one?
No, I mean, you can if you're doing the sit down meditation, it's probably best to do that. I mean, you can do it in bed, you can do it sitting up. It's probably best to do it at a quiet moment in the very beginning of your day and right at the end of the day. But as far as mindfulness is concerned, it's whenever and however, and you can do it in an instant, and nobody else needs to know. It's just like you just relax into and just be. Just be.
I thought you froze there for a minute.
Just be. Just
that was funny.
So that's the difference between the two, and I use both because they are used well in combination.
Well, thank you. And the reason I actually asked for that is because some people can say, well, I don't have the time to do this, I'm working.
Take just an instant.
Exactly. So you could be at your desk literally and just kind of take a pause and just, you can close your eyes. You can do it without closing your eyes. You can just kind of focus on some element. And I mean, and I had a show about hypnotherapy and hypnosis, and it is in the same realm. I mean, there's all connections here, and it is a different way of doing things, and it does help at any level. I mean, just taking a moment to yourself will help. Breathing will help, and then that's the other thing. I think breathe. So, what's the importance of breathing with meditation? Just from your expertise.
I understand. I like to talk about or think about breathing as being either just a normal human breath, which you're not very aware of, or a sacred breath where you breathe in and breathe out, and breathe in for two seconds and breathe out for 4 seconds is the best sort of combination. But it's a taking of a sacred breath as opposed to just the normal breath that you're not aware of. So it's a breathing with awareness, I guess, is the best way to talk about it. And you have to remember to do it. And that's the key to it, is just remembering to remember. And there are triggers. It's like a lot of times when I go in and out of a door, I'll use that as a trigger to remember to just take a breath. So there are little things that you can do like that, or when you go to the bathroom, it's an opportunity. I mean, you're by yourself and so forth, to just take a breath and use that as a trigger. It's an odd thing to use as a trigger, but it's just a trigger to take a breath in order to get yourself, for even an instant, into a state of higher awareness.
Well, it's amazing because when doing the hypnosis and different shows, discussions about it, there is suggestive, things that you do to trigger, a state of hypnosis. And basically what it does, it kind of triggers your subconscious to actually remember that particular. And those triggers that you mentioned are those suggestions. Basically, the minute you know that whenever you go here, you're going to do it. And in time, your subconscious is automatic. You're there and you just take a deep breath because you already kind of hypnotize yourself to it. And
exactly. There you go.
That's really self-hypnosis,
in a way it is, yeah.
And but that's, I mean, it's amazing. Like, right now we've talked religion, we've talked business, we've talked meditation, but it's all connected. Hypnosis, martial arts. When you start looking at the world, and it's funny, you said something about the world itself, like how we are, you create your own reality. It is not far-fetched. As a matter of fact, I have a description about it. It's very simple. This world is created in a particular form, and we all are spiritual beings, and we have these avatars, and we all kind of see the world through our own way. Meaning, so it's our experience that makes the world, the interaction and stuff. And so we are interacting. It's right now you're watching me through your own experience. I'm watching you through my own experience. And we are kind of connected in this space called world. I mean, it is a sci-fi kind of version of things. For most people, like, you're crazy. I'm not crazy, but I'm just trying to break it down in terms of more of like something that we can, relate to a little bit, from just a scientific way or non-scientific way, if you want to call it that way. But the idea is that if you think about it that way, you'll realize like, whoa, okay, it's because your experiences are yours. As a matter of fact, even we have one thing that we can even define is that many people look at someone and say like, well, he isn't looking good. He doesn't look good. She looks good. She doesn't look good. And you interpret things, and we both can look at the same thing and see it differently. We're not looking. We're looking at the same thing, but we're seeing it differently.
Right.
And even color, what I'm seeing, is not necessarily what you're seeing. And so that's how we work in this world. So it's very unique, and you can manifest certain things based on your own, reality, and you can drive some things yourself. And it's, yes, from a religious aspect of it, from an ordained, from a prescribed things. I believe in all that stuff, but the idea is that you have multiple choices, if you want to call it, in your reality, and depending on what you choose, the outcomes are gonna vary. And again, not to compare to a game, but in a game, today's modern games, they're very rich games. I mean, they're very alive. I mean, I don't know if you ever seen a meta game, like those visors. These things are so realistic. I mean, when you hit them, and they're just getting better and better. And you can be immersed in that actual virtual reality for hours and moving from one place to the other, interacting with people. They're just other souls, if you want to call it that way, that are operating with you in the same realm. It's you don't see the analogy until you start looking at it and thinking like, what if? And really, this is an experience. I mean, another way to look at this is when we sleep, we dream.
That's right.
Right? But what makes this, maybe we're having a dream right now. I mean, nobody can prove that this is true versus a dream. The only reason is we know that we're not dreaming is because we keep coming back to the same elements. It's like, redundancy. You see the same people over and over, so you're not dreaming. In a dream, you have a life. I mean, you're conscious in there, you're moving, you're flowing, you're doing things. Sometimes you have fun. You look different sometimes in a dream. You can see yourself, but it's not the same look. It's you, but it's not you. It's weird. Now, people, again, they're watching and listening like, this guy is crazy. I'm not. If you just reflect on these things, you start seeing like, damn, he is right. Because most of us, we don't reflect on things. We don't try to analyze things. We just go by our days without taking a moment to
on automatic. Automatic. Yeah.
If you start really trying to identify everything around you and really look at things and analyze things and just kind of like give yourself a chance to like why and how, like you wake up in the morning and you still have images from where you were. Yes. But if I tell you, first of all, you can't go back to where you were, even if you slept right away, you're not going to go back to that same dream. But and the example of dreams is big because it's reality, that you're conscious about while you're in it, and that's the part about life. This is actually in relation to what you said about we create our own realities in this world, but there are realms, and it's all happening at the same time. We have deja vu. To date, people don't even realize what deja vu is. We know what it is. I've seen the moment, like I've been there. This happened already. Right. But now if we take it from a time frame, this happened. Am I in the future now? Does that mean I'm just watching my movie? Or so there's all these questions. So the question is, do we ask the right questions? Do we reflect? Do we wonder and ponder? Most of us don't, and there is a reason we don't, because sometimes it's scary.
It can be. Yeah.
when you start getting dived,
once you get it, but once you spend a little time there, it's not scary at all. In fact, it's magical in many ways, and you can see that additional dimensionality that is on the one hand surprising, but is on the other hand is kind of a state of grace.
Love it. So Blair, The Secret. You referred to something about The Secret.
Yes.
Let's talk about The Secret.
Okay. So The Secret is based on the law of attraction. And The Secret is about manifesting. The Secret uses different techniques in order to try and help you get what you want in life. Whether it's visualizing a BMW appearing in your driveway tomorrow, or whether it's putting up a vision board that has all kind of pictures and you look at every day, and it says that you put that into your subconscious mind and you can create what you want. I think that has limitations, because what I found was, or I developed a process called the best possible outcome process. And in the best possible outcome process, it goes like this. I ask for the best possible outcome for my interview with Hurricane today, which I did today just before we came on, and then pause, get a sense that spirit has moved, and then thank you, higher self, thank you, higher consciousness, thank you, soul, for being involved in my life. Now, that's real different from the way they do manifesting in The Secret, because this is about not prescribing what should happen from our three-dimensional mind, but it's opening up to spirit and allowing spirit to participate, and in many cases bring you a better outcome than what you might have visualized in your mind. So it's asking for the best possible outcome for everybody involved, if you want to see it from that perspective, about something in general for my transportation needs, pausing, taking a breath, letting spirit move, and then letting your higher consciousness or your soul be involved in the outcome, which can, in many cases, be a better outcome than you could come up with in your human mind. And then thanking spirit for its participation in your life, for revealing itself to you, if you will. So you can see how that's kind of a different approach to it. It's kind of like not saying to God, if you'll do this for me, I'll do that for you. Sort of like Santa Claus or like a bargain, but instead use me. Instead, move through me. Instead, be involved in my life, and I'll turn it over and trust that, as opposed to I've got to have it this way.
So Blair, you mentioned thank you a couple of times.
Yes.
So what is the part of gratitude in there?
Gratitude is kind of like what we were talking about a while ago. When you're thankful about something, when you're grateful about something, your vibration lifts. You can't be grateful about something and be in an angry state of mind. It requires, again, opening up to awareness, opening up to higher consciousness, and being grateful for anything and everything. One of the things that I do in the morning sometimes is I'm making breakfast, and all of a sudden I find myself being grateful for the supply chain that brought everything to my counter today for breakfast. I didn't have to go out and hunt it. I didn't and kill it. I didn't have to go out and hunt and gather. It's kind of, so I'm thankful for everything and everybody that was involved in the assembly of this bowl of cereal that I happen to be about to consume. So you just feel good when you are in a moment of gratefulness. So it's just another way to tap into consciousness.
There's nothing like being grateful.
That's another way to attract things to you. If you're grateful about things want to be in your presence. I know that sounds weird.
Well, we can just test it from, at least from the human perspective. You're grateful to people, well, not all of them, but most of the people will be, grateful back, and appreciate you're being grateful to them. But you're right. A great example with animals, it's amazing if you do good by them, they'll be there for you. Like, dogs, cats, animals, they're like,
unconditional love.
They don't exactly. They're there for you. They'll fight. They'll die for you if they have to. And it's amazing because they're just pure. And there's to your point. Those are the living ones that we can reflect on. But you're right. When you're grateful, things just manifest. Things happen. Yeah. And sometimes that's the thing. There are very much items in our lives, things that happen in our lives that we probably, if we start asking the question and deep diving into like, damn, how is that happening? See, that's the thing about reflecting. the more you reflect, the more you start to see the world differently. I mean, it's like, it just like it's opening up, and like you start seeing it like from a 4D, fifth dimensional state as opposed to like a 2D. I mean, we pretty much, most of us live in a 2D world. This is a lot more, I mean, maybe more of an 8D. but really, you don't see it until you start, asking questions and looking. You look at the space. At night you walk out and you look at everything, around you, like, wow. If you take a plane and, you look out of the window of that plane, you'd be like, damn. Where are all the humans? You don't see humans when you're actually at 36,000 feet up there, right? It's amazing. And so you start asking questions about who you are, what you hear, what's your purpose, and again,
and opening up to the answer. You ask the questions, and then you open up to the answer, and the answer may be coming to you then from the fifth dimensional reality as opposed to three-dimensional reality.
It would.
Your higher mind rather than your human mind, and it's easy but limited answers to questions.
Well, you're right, but you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere, anywhere. Start anywhere.
Exactly.
Start in a moment of just pausing and just being quiet for a minute.
Yeah, and here's a good part. I mean, we've had a show right now. We're just about over the hour, but we've got a lot of grounds. And we come from two different, literally, schools of thoughts, and we can still come to a common ground that there are similarities, there are things that are shared across, and that's the beauty of things, right? I'm not forcing my way on you, you're not forcing your way on me, but we're sharing values, or at least ideology, that anyone can take what we talked about, dissect it, look into it, and take what's working for you. And guarantee you, if you did that exercise, you will come up to your own conclusions and your own way of doing things. And
your own path, because everybody has their own path.
Exactly. And it's funny, you will not look back. You'll just have a new you. And then that's it. And so we owe it to ourselves sometimes to deep dive and into like some of the more difficult discussion topics, or more, higher realm of you, if you want to call it that way, because, this is not your day-to-day, discussion.
No,
it gets a little, touchy, and people get a little sensitive, but, we try to keep it as smooth as not rough around the edges, as easy to absorb. It's not a difficult discussion. Yes, you might, based on your opinion, if watching and listening, you might think like, we're one way or the other off, but that's because you haven't, explored it, clear enough. But if you do, it's a big spectrum, and you can go from one end to the other. And at the end of the day, we all fall into one, piece of it or not. And whatever kind of works for you, ideally, that's where you want to be. It's like, you got to find your frequency, if you want to call it that way. And, is there a frequency better than another? That's up to you to decide. But, everybody has their own. I mean, for example, if you ask me, will I change the way I do things? No, I'm comfortable where I am. You're comfortable where you are. And that's the thing. You get to your comfort zone and you're there. You're good. There's nothing, and nobody's going to shift you from it, and you'll be comfortable. And so again, the key here is you're working towards things that can help you in the day-to-day life, mentally, physically, and spiritually. You have all those three things that will be aligned correctly, and your lives are going to be different because you're not seeing it from the same lens as most of the people that are not there yet. And so that's you just become different, and there's nothing wrong with, we're all different by default. It's just a matter of like really tuning in, really to your own frequency there. And that's all I have to say. Now you have 5 books, right? Currently?
Yeah, actually total of 6 at this point, over at Amazon Books on meditation, mindfulness, manifestation. And I'd like to offer your listeners, your viewers, a free copy of my mindfulness book. All they have to do is go to my website to get a copy of that mindfulness book. But if any of this resonates, explore it. Perfect. See what's interesting to you. See what resonates with you. See what sparks a sense of recognition. And then kind of go with that. See where it takes you, because you got a whole lifetime to do it. But it makes life much more interesting.
Again, keyword a lifetime, but no one knows when the lifetime ends. So today is a day, is a good day to start, and we owe it to ourselves. It is a fact, right? I mean, it's one thing we don't know. We don't guarantee tomorrow, but we are here today. So today is a good place, and usually it's a good point to make some adjustments to where we are.
Yeah,
Blair, it's so the website will be what's the website where people can go? Let me just.
So it's www.high-C-meditation, spelled HI-C, like the high C note, or higher consciousness meditation.com, highcmeditation.com.
All right.
And so just sign up, you get a book.
There you go. Well, so I will have that on the description of the show, so people can actually link to you. And actually, again, for you, in my website, your picture will be there. If they click on it, they'll go right to you, and they'll be on your website as well. So if you check out the website as well, you can have access to Blair and his book and his information. Now, do you provide any services other than the books, like teach-ins or any of that?
I'm putting together a couple of courses as we speak. And I'm starting to do a little bit of coaching. So if people are interested in one-on-one coaching, that's available as well.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. You have options here. And, Blair, it's really been fun. It's been real. We had a good time. I hope you enjoyed this. Was it actually what you expected when you did your exercise?
It's always, it's always what it is, and it's always perfect. And the beauty of it is that the interchange that we have, the Hindus have a greeting, which is Namaste, which means the higher consciousness in me acknowledges the higher consciousness in you. And I think there's no greater gift that you can give another person than acknowledging their higher self, their soul, their higher consciousness. And so I say in finishing up, Namaste.
All right. I saw that coming.
Yes.
You did the movement, Namaste is rightful there. So, well, Namaste to you. Thank you. Again, always a pleasure to learn new things. And, yes, I mean, sometimes we dabble with the different, and it's important because it exists. We just need to know about it. I mean, knowledge is key, and the more we know about things, the more we can adapt our lifestyle and maybe change and impact fully. So that's all I have. Blair, thank you so much for being with us today. And
thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
You're welcome. And folks, thank you for watching, listening, and please stay in touch for the next episode, for the next show. I'm Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. Bye for now.